So what the fuck, Chuck? What the fuck, Chuck? We, the people out here, don't give a fuck about shutting down the government right now. We don't. It'll affect me personally, and I still don't give a fuck. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to read right now some of the Republican full-year continuing resolution, just in case you didn't know. With a full-year continuing resolution, the guardrails are off. Elon Musk and President Trump will have ever more leeway to shut off and repurpose funding as they see fit. Among the many problems, the bill forces evictions of more than 32,000 fucking households, jeopardizes Social Security, slashes infrastructure investments, and cuts nutrition assistance. This Republican full-year continuing resolution reneges on veterans' medical care and creates future uncertainty. More veterans are enrolled in VA care than ever. This bill fails to include $22.9 billion in the fiscal year of 2026, advanced funding for the Toxic Exposures Fund to care for the veterans exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances. Because they care about the veterans so much. They so care about our fucking military, right? All those suckers and losers. Yeah. This is how much they fucking care. Don't forget this. Don't forget this. Don't let them tell you this bullshit. That is gaslighting 101, man. Oh, we care about the kids. We care about the veterans. They don't. And they prove it right here by the laws they try to pass. By their fucking policies and their agenda. Courts rely on congressional directives to understand the intent of laws. Omitting those directives in a full-year continuing resolution would abandon our allies engaged in litigation to protect American families and businesses. Oh, yeah. I'm sure it's just an unintended fucking consequence, right? This bill cuts funding for non-defense programs and services by $13 billion, while increasing defense spending by $6 billion compared to the fiscal year of 2024 enacted levels. It cuts non-defense funding by $15 billion and defense by $2 billion relative to the fiscal year of 2025 levels. It fails to lower the cost of housing. This bill fails to lower the cost of housing and instead cuts rent subsidies for low-income and working Americans by more than $700 million, leaving landlords to foot the bill or evict more than 32,000 households, including veterans, survivors of domestic violence, seniors, and families with disabilities, including providing $168 million less than what is needed to maintain homeless services across 400 communities nationally. It adds chaos and costs for commuters. This bill enables Musk and Trump to defund projects already underway that improve daily commutes for Americans, giving them full control of the future of public-private capital investment grants to projects that eliminate transportation deserts and improve road congestion, subway systems, light rail, and bus routes across California, Florida, Illinois, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Texas, Washington, and Wisconsin. Biden purposely put a lot of his infrastructure projects in red states. But see, they don't give a fuck. They don't care if they hurt veterans, children, or their own constituents, their own voters. Because they'll just distract them with something else along the way. It's fucking ridiculous. Speaking of which, the Emergency Food Program. It neglects to fully fund the Emergency Food Program. It's called TEFAP by $20 million at a time of rising food costs, and it would leave 25,000 seniors unable to participate in the Community Supplemental Food Program. Social Security Administration. It allows Elon Musk and President Trump to fire thousands of employees at the Social Security Administration, which would result in closures of Social Security offices, increased wait times for the 1-800 number, and unacceptable backlogs to Social Security beneficiaries trying to access their earned benefits. You mean thousands more? Is that what you mean? Thousands more people? And Bernie Sanders said the other day at one of his huge rallies that 30,000 seniors die every year waiting for their Social Security claims that they paid into their whole lives to process through the system. It takes that long. I know how long it takes. It takes years. From the time you put a claim in, it takes 3 to 4 years. That's like average. Can you imagine what it'd be like now? I think the cruelty is the point. I say that often because they show us often. Disaster Relief Fund. That will not be able to get through the remainder of this fiscal year and will need an influx of funding to address disasters throughout the fiscal year, especially with an approaching hurricane season. The fund is currently on pace to meet only the most dire immediate life and safety needs by late spring, in the middle of tornado season, and well before hurricane season starts in June. And also the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, it fails to provide additional resources for regulation. So of course, they're not going to regulate the securities industry, enforcing security laws and protecting investors by ensuring fair and efficient markets, fostering transparency, and preventing fraud. Because they're all about committing fraud and wasting federal taxpayer money. Do you know we spent more federal spending was at the highest ever for an incoming president? Probably all those golf trips and the NASCAR and the Super Bowl, and they don't give a fuck about fraud, waste, or abuse. They are fraud, waste, and abuse. That is what they are. I'm fucking heated. K through 12 education. Funding for democratic educational priorities, such as grants for school-based mental health services, because those are just so terrible, and community schools, could be transferred to fund Trump administration priorities, such as charter schools. Student financial assistance for college students. That would also be at risk, including funding for federal work-study and supplemental education opportunity grants. Small business administration programs that benefit entrepreneurs, including veteran-owned small businesses and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, could be cut and eliminated. Public stewardship partners. No ability to protect funding for national heritage areas, national trail system, and other caucus priorities. Power marketing administrations. It does not provide the requested budgets for that. Corps of Engineers civil work projects. $1.4 billion, or 44%, is being slashed from the Corps of Engineers civil work projects. And all project funding levels will be at the discretion of the administration, including over 1,000 projects throughout the country that would otherwise be directed by Congress, because he's usurping Congress. These projects keep commerce safely flowing on our waterways, manage flood risk, and restore ecosystems. Because who needs that? They don't believe in climate change. Rural development, broadband. Cuts support for the Rural Broadband Community Connect program by $30 million, undercutting key investments in rural America. I'm not done. There's a whole section on the FAA here. It's providing, they provide a blank check to the FAA in the amount of $4 billion, enabling Elon Musk to direct the contracts to Starlink and SpaceX. How convenient. At a time when unvetted and unchecked SpaceX employees have burrowed into the FAA, the same agency that regulates SpaceX, with no requirements for public transparency, fair competition, or congressional approval. This comes at a time when mission-critical jobs have been cut at the FAA, and Elon Musk spaceships exploded across the United States and Caribbean during 2 failed space launches since January, causing major disruptions to air travelers across Florida and forcing the FAA and commercial airlines to divert air travel for thousands of travelers, costing thousands of lost revenue. This is yet another example of the Trump administration's prioritizing profits over safety of the American people. There's tons more. Look it up. I am so fucking mad. What the fuck, Chuck?